Hello, this is Walter, and again we're taking a look at the we're taking a look at riding bicycles and that issue of allowing the bike to flip flop back and forth. Now we're specifically looking at bicycles on Dan John's question and answer forum. Someone actually by the name of Spider Legs brought up an interesting thing about he was taught and riding a bicycle, and he was a pretty serious cyclist, that you stayed light on the bicycle and your hands were light on the handlebars, and that is true. Same with the scooter or motorcycle. If you're all tensed up, you're not going to be able to ride very well, and it's actually going to inhibit your ability to ride in a fluid manner and gracefully and be able to ride faster. Now, in getting into bicycles specifically, particularly if you're going downhill, you want to be real light on your bike. What we are looking at is something that's very specific that Beg Pedaler had brought up concerning the handlebars and pedaling the bike when you're cranking hard on the pedals. And you only do that generally if you're trying to accelerate rapidly to like overtake someone or pass them, or if you're cranking up a hill. And I did provide a link in on my website, abilitytoadapt.com. There's a link there that takes you to a YouTube video from 2007 Tour de France, the finishing part of that race in stage one, and you'll see the cyclists, the road cyclists. These are top competitors. Their handlebars going back and forth. Some of them quite a bit. And there could be various reasons for this. Some people say they'll do that to try to prevent someone from drafting them because they feel that their body's moving back and forth, but the upper body really isn't moving all that much when you look at the video. So I don't think it's preventing someone from drafting them is the reason why they're doing it so much. They might think it is, but unless their upper body is going way back and forth like this, which it's not when you look at the video, it's doing this with their bike isn't going to keep someone from drafting them. So that's kind of a goofy point. The other reason being, if you look at the video closely, which I did, and what we were talking about before, amateur riders a lot of times as they pedal, as they push down on this left pedal, they'll allow the bike to flop way to the left. And then the same with the right. They push down with the right, they allow the bike to flop way to the right. If you watch that video on the Tour de France closely, what you'll notice as they're pushing down with their left leg, they're not allowing the bike to tilt to the left. They're actually leaning it more to the right. So they're actually pushing down hard with their right hand, pulling up with their left. They're purposely cranking the bike to their right as they push down on the left on that pedal. It's so that they can get more leverage to what they're trying to do. They're going like this with the handlebars as they push on this, because this handlebar actually has to lift up to counteract the forces of the leg pressing down. And some of them are kind of exaggerating that movement. Now, looking at the video, since it is the finishing stages of stage one in that race, my thinking is some of them are allowing that to happen maybe because they earnestly think it's going to keep someone from drafting them, but their upper body isn't moving that much. Remember, if someone's drafting you, they're following in the wake that you're cutting through the air, and it's easier for them to pedal. And then once they come around you, they have to accelerate and they feel the full force of the wind. As I said, their upper body isn't moving. If I'm cutting through the wind with my body here and someone's behind me drafting, in order for them not to be lined up, I have to move my body completely off to the side. So if someone's right behind me, I've literally got to move my body this much so the air goes by me and hits them. But when you look at them riding, they're not doing that. So goofy thought. So if that's what they're doing and think they're doing by pedaling like that, that's an erroneous thought. And probably nobody's really thought about it that way or looked at it that way. Getting back to that idea is, you'll notice some of those pedalers, if you take a quick look at that video, and there's more information on my website in the article, and then it references you to this video where I have other information. I didn't want to put all the same information in the same each place because it's just repeating itself. As you notice that video, some of them riders are actually tipping their bikes more than others, and it could be various reasons. Maybe they think they're preventing somebody, the person behind them, from drafting them. Some of them, you could tell it's because they're starting to sprint around someone, so they're pedaling harder. I think it could be because maybe they're getting more fatigued, and so they don't have the upper body strength to keep their bike more stable and in line, because it is near the finish of a stage 1 race in the Tour de France, and this was in 2007. So that's really what I wanted to address with Veg Peddler's question concerning that, is how to develop and strengthen the person's upper body. A lot more strength in your legs, but you're only pushing with one leg and you're using 2 arms. So as this left leg pushes on the pedal, this left side is pulling, push, pull, push. So how can we kind of build that strength in our upper body to counteract what's happening with the handlebars? And the harder you crank, you have to be careful too, because you want to make sure your equipment is in good shape, because if you're cranking really hard, you could break a crank or your stem or handlebar or something. And if you're really flying pretty fast on your bicycle, you can get injured severely. So if you're going to really pedal hard like that, you want to make sure your equipment, your bicycle is in good shape. The more that bicycle flips back and forth, the more serpentine the route is going to be. And you can see that. You look at the tires on those bikes in that video on my website, that link to that video on YouTube, you can see those that are flipping their bike back and forth more, it's actually going like this more than those who can minimize it. So that's the real thing. That's a real thought about that, is trying to minimize that to a degree. And if you can minimize it, then more of the power that you're putting into your pedal is going to go towards straight line movement versus serpentine route. And granted, if you push down on this pedal and tip your bike more, it feels like you're getting greater leverage, but you're also creating a slightly bigger path. And they don't pedal like this all the time, because to do so uses a lot of energy. So if you're going to put forth that much energy at particular areas of a race or pedaling in a certain situation on a bicycle, you want to make the most effective use of that energy, and that is in propelling your body and your bicycle forward versus a serpentine route. So the more we can kind of straighten that out, the better. The more effective our pedaling is going to be and getting us where we want to go in a faster manner. The first exercise I wanted to look at, it really is kind of 2 exercises that we can do. It's called the suitcase deadlift, because the weight's on one side of your body. It's just like picking up a suitcase. And as you pick up a suitcase, the weight's pulling you this way. So you have to push with your foot, your right foot more, to straighten your body out and lift it. And you're pushing with the right leg. And if the weight's in my right hand, I'm pulling with my right hand. It's just like pedaling that bicycle. So that would be the first exercise that I would recommend. So if you don't know how to do a suitcase deadlift, you can use a dumbbell, a kettlebell, a barbell with some weight on it. And the biggest thing is you want to keep your body squared up. You want your shoulders tracking over your hips, your knees and feet tracking. So you're not using a wide stance and going like this and picking it up. You're going to have to keep a fairly narrow stance, and to make room for the implement to slide along your leg. And you want to drop down to it, grab it tight, and squeeze it hard. Squeeze your other hand hard too, because it'll help you keep your body. Imagine there's a weight in this hand too, and you're picking up 2 weights at the same time, even though there's only weight in one hand, and that'll help you keep your body square. So you hinge at the hips, you go down, grab it. Don't let it pull you one way or the other. So you want to stay nice and strong when you go down. I like to just set it down between each rep. Take a breath down low, tighten everything up, squeeze hard, lift it, put it back down. Don't bounce them and do reps like this, like you see some people doing regular deadlifts, because they'll usually get loose at some point and hurt their back. Of course, you want to work both sides of your body. So the left side. One of the things you want to keep in mind in doing the suitcase deadlift is if at any point it feels funky, just drop the weight. If you're using a dumbbell or kettlebell, you want to make sure you're not going to hit your foot. That's why a barbell might be better. You just need to grasp it where it's going to balance. The other thing is to keep your reps low and your sets low. I do maybe 3 to 5 sets and reps like 1 to 5 at the most. There's different formats you can do. You could do 3 sets of 3 reps each. You could do a set of 5, a set of 4, a set of 3, a set of 2, a set of 1. You can do a set of 5, a set of 3, a set of 2. Maybe go through that twice or just once, depending on how much weight you're using. You can maintain the same weight, and then as you get stronger, gradually add weight to it. When you look at, you can research other methods of how to gain basically just pure strength, like a power lifter, and apply that same thought process to doing these suitcase deadlifts and get stronger at them. And that's going to help your body in being able to pull and push and keep your body squared up. And that way, when you're riding your bicycle and you have to crank hard on those pedals, you're going to find it easier. You're going to find it easier to keep those handlebars more parallel to the road or horizontal, so that more of your pedaling power is transferring into pushing your bike forward versus this kind of flip-flopping going on in the serpentine route. So if you can create a reserve of strength, that's going to help you if you are racing or competing. It's going to help you later on in your race, because the more strength you have to a point, the better. Now the thing with riding the bicycle, it's not just static strength that's going on here, because there's this interplay going back and forth as your body kind of tenses up to hold and counteract the pressing of the leg as you pedal. And then of course it immediately switches to the other leg, so your body's kind of going back and forth like this, tensing and relaxing each side. One's pressing, one's pulling, and then all of a sudden it switches the other way, and this is pressing and this is pulling. So incorporating suitcase farmer walks is really good too. And you can actually incorporate both of these into the same exercise, the suitcase deadlift and the suitcase farmer's walk. Well, there's a couple ways you could do that. You can do suitcase deadlifts one day a week, and then maybe another day a week do suitcase farmer walks. And I'll just give a quick demonstration of that. The other thing you can do is you can actually combine them. So if I was going to combine them, what I would do is I would suitcase deadlift 1 rep, set it down, 2nd rep I'm picking it up, and I'd walk with it, and then I would set it down when I got to the end, and then pick it up again and set it down. So it'd give me like a couple suitcase deadlifts in each farmer's walk. And again, you want to do both sides, so it would look like this. And then of course when I set it down, I'd set it down, pick it up, set it down. That's one side, then do the other side. Sorry for the neighbors, they don't know how to play drums. They've had them for over a year and they still don't know how to play. Anyway, shows that if you don't practice something, you don't get better at it. So that's an exercise I'd recommend, suitcase deadlifts and suitcase farmer walks, and practice them for like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and see if it has an effect on your pedaling hard in that particular situation where the handlebars are trying to go back and forth, or you're trying to lever them, and see if it helps. And then next video, next week, we're going to look at another particular exercise. It's a little bit different. These two that I just showed you, just really briefly, many of you might be familiar with them, and you might not have really thought about their ability to help a person who's a cyclist. Particularly these suitcase style deadlifts and farmer walks really attack your midsection too and help you be more stable, which could help your hips and your torso and your upper body in your cycling and improve your posture. So there you go. So this is Walter, and I'll see you next week with another video about bicycling and the issue that Beg Peddler brought up, and we're going to look at a new exercise, one that might not be so familiar to many of you. Until then, have an awesome day.